Welcome everybody to another video. This is just a quick one. I thought it would be a fun little video to do of me redoing the tops of these solid cherry side tables. So the rest of the piece it's dirty, but it's not in bad shape, but the tops definitely need refinishing. There's the typical scratches and dings, which is to be expected when a piece is, 20 or 30 years old. But there's also these areas where the finish is gone completely and some watermarks, and any way you look at this, the top has to be refinished. The rest I'm gonna just clean up. It's a really good brand name, very well made piece, but needs a little love, so here we go. My name is Angie, and I'm the one behind Transcend Furniture Gallery, a business created from the love of vintage furniture and the desire to take broken, dated, and unloved things and turn them into modern treasures. Sometimes I paint, and sometimes I don't, but I always do what I can to save old pieces from the trash. Welcome to my workroom. I'm going to be giving the bottom of this piece a really good cleaning and polish, so I'm going to take the drawer out, remove some excess stuff here. It's funny, I pulled the strangest things out of furniture. Usually it's socks and underwear and old papers. I haven't found any money yet. Maybe someday. I won't bank on it, but that would be amazing. I'm using premixed TSP to get some of the old dirt and grime off, built up waxes from furniture polishes, etc. over the years. TSP is a great degreaser and crud cutter. Just make sure that you rinse it with water when you're done, and I would recommend wearing gloves for sure. Now that the bottom is clean, I'm going to go ahead and start on the top here. I could have used a stripper on this, but this finish is so thick, and I find these scrapers just more efficient for something like this and less messy. And I don't have to worry about stripper dripping down onto the base. It has a reversible blade, so when one side gets dull, you just flip it around and use the other side. I'll drop a link in the description box below for one that is similar if you want to check it out. And I'm just using a 150 grit sanding pad to remove any of the excess finish that the scraper missed and to help even out some of the scratches in the deeper gouges. I'm showing this section of the clip in real time so you can see how fast, or rather how slow, I'm moving here. A really common problem with beginners, and I did it too, was just moving too fast. Let the sander do the work. You don't need a ton of pressure, just let it do its job and you'll have much better results. I'm on to 220 grit now to refine things even more, and then once that's done, I'm going to finish off with a 320 grit sanding. I want a really smooth finish. Matching up the color of this top is going to be a little tricky because the bottom is aged. Cherry has a tendency to darken over time, so getting this color right is a little bit tricky. Rather than putting the stain directly on the bare wood, I want a little bit of a buffer here. You can use wood conditioner, sometimes that helps. What I'm using is a very thin layer of hemp oil. This is a technique I only use on special occasions such as this, where I don't want my stain to penetrate too deeply into the wood. I don't let the hemp oil sit on for very long, maybe a few seconds, and then I add my stain, and what that does is it kind of mixes with the oil a bit and tints the wood but doesn't soak down into those fibers. I'm using English Chestnut here by Minwax. This is going to be sort of my base layer. I'm immediately going to wipe it off. Normally you would let this soak in for 5 to 10 minutes. I'm wiping it off immediately, and then I'm going on again with another stain. This is a gel stain, Antique Walnut by General Finishes. It's got a cooler tone, a little bit of green to it, and once this dries and I apply the finish, it's going to be a pretty good match for the rest of the piece, if not a little bit light. A little bit lighter is good because cherry, like I said, does darken a bit over time. What I'm doing here is using that same hemp oil and some super fine steel wool and just sort of polishing up this finish a bit. The oil's not going to soak in, obviously, because there is fully intact finish here, but it is going to give it a nice luster. You could also use a paste wax or some sort of furniture wax to do the same thing. Once I've coated the whole piece, I'm just going to wipe off any excess oil, slide the drawer back in, put the hardware back on, and the base is finished. My little stain concoction is finished drying now. You can see here how it's a pretty good match tonally for the rest of the piece, but is a bit light. Now once I apply the finish and the piece ages a bit, it's going to match almost perfectly. This is a wipe-on polyurethane. I believe it is a semi-gloss. It's going to need several thin coats. The semi-gloss luster is going to build up over time as you add additional coats. I'm not sanding in between, but I am using a very, very fine abrasive pad to just lightly cut down any nibs from dust or debris that may have landed on it while that poly was drying. I'm adding coat number 2 now. I think in total I did 6 or 7 layers on this. While that seems excessive, the reason I did so many was less about the protection, because usually after 3 or 4 coats it's protected, but I wanted to build up that luster to kind of match the rest of the piece. I'm really happy with how these tops turned out. They're close enough in tone, but light enough that as the piece ages over time, it will darken and blend in with the rest of the piece. Thank you guys for watching. This was a quick little one, nothing too extreme or dramatic like some of my other flips, but thought I'd share with you anyway. I will see you again in a few days with another video.